I've tried every productivity and time management system known to man, with most of them adding more confusion and taking up more time than they were even optimizing for. But about 2 years ago, I started this one small exercise every single Sunday for 2 hours, and it has had transformative results in both my personal and in my business life. It's the only way I've been able to run a company of 30 plus people, go to the gym for 2 hours every single day, and also find time to get my pilot's license, buy a plane, and go on dozens of trips a year. And I call it my personal operating system. And this video is actually going to be a breakdown of this system because I get these questions all of the time with my clients or when I'm at the gym, when I tell people kind of what I do for a living or how I spend my time. Before I dive in and actually literally walk you through what this personal operating system is, let me start by just explaining who I am in case you don't know. My name is Ravi Abuvala. I'm the founder of Scaling with Systems, where we build end-to-end custom marketing systems for coaches, consultants, course creators, agencies, and online service providers. And like the name of my company sounds like, Scaling with Systems, I am obsessed with systems. Everything I'm trying to do in my life is around systems. I'm trying to design the most ideal life possible using systems. And by using systems, I can make sure that I'm doing the things that I love to do, and then I'm automating, delegating, eliminating out all of the other stuff that I don't want to do. And although I don't live a perfect life by any means, I would say that I'm able to do a lot more than most people, at least most people that I talk to, because of this personal operating system. What I want to first start off with here is how I'm like housing this whole personal operating system and then when I'm using it. So I use this personal operating system as like almost a let's think like a spring cleaning on a weekly basis. So what I have experienced in my life is that most people, when they are like trying to do a bunch of things in life, it's they kind of set the goals at the beginning of the year, and then they just like march forward, and then they kind of fall back in their same habits or routines as they were previously. And then you have all these external pressures, ideas, people, family members, team members, clients, et cetera, like trying to suck up some of your time as well. And so it's very easy for you to veer off track and kind of lose sight of what the goal is. And in a business, there's a few different operating systems, like the entrepreneur operating system. And that's why people do like quarterly sprints and OKRs, is because they are aware that in business, you can get distracted as well. But by creating a 90-day goal and then looking at that goal on a weekly basis, you can make sure that, hey, this goal is the main thing we need to get done this quarter to take our business to our 1 year, 3 year, 10-year goal. And I can make sure that I'm moving forward on that goal and updating progress on that. And so when I first installed the operating system inside of our business, immediately, because I'm a systems guy, I was like, how can I apply this in my personal life? And that's where I kind of created this personal operating system. And this is very raw. I don't have this, and I'm not saying this is perfect by any means. I just want to give this video to people when they ask me, like, how do you do all these things? I just want to be able to give them this video so they can kind of better understand it. So an operating system, or the reason I do this, is because it's very easy, even at the level that I'm at, to get distracted or veered off of course of what I'm trying to achieve. And so this keeps me on a weekly basis. I can kind of realign my North Star, if you will, my calibration of my compass. And the second part of this is I do this every Sunday. So most people take off all their Sundays. They don't want to work on their weekends. That's fine. I'm not telling you have to do it on Sunday. But for me, I spend about 2 hours. Sometimes it's up to 4 hours, but I block out 2 hours on my calendar every single Sunday to go through what I'm about to go through here. And by doing that, I'm able to recalibrate before the week starts on all of my things, like my calendar, my priorities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So with that all being said, let's dive in here. So this is inside of Asana. That's the project management software that we use as a company. And I just call it the Ravi meeting. And it's just me by myself, and it's every single Sunday it repeats. So I've been doing this for about 2 years now. Okay. So let's walk through what this is. So like I said, it's a 2-hour meeting, and this is the agenda for the meeting. So I'm going to break down each one of these in order here. So you can see these little time on the side here. That's how long I should take on each one of these. So I'm like my own timekeeper and secretary as I'm going through these meetings. And these are very reflective of the company meetings that we have as well, which I have a separate YouTube video that goes through how we do this as a company on top of that. Let's first start with, in my opinion, what is very likely the most important part of this entire personal operating system, which is auditing my journal, my tasks, my priorities, and my calendar. It is my experience that I've been writing my journal for about, I think 8 years now, 7 or 8 years now. I've been writing almost every single day. I've probably missed like a handful of days every single year in my journal. And what I write has changed. And I'm going to show you guys exactly what I write now, but what I write over time has changed in there. But I have been writing pretty much the same thing every day for about 7-8 years. And I know a lot of other people love to journal as well. I know a lot of people, throw shade at journaling. I'm not going to get and talk about that. But for those of you that do like journaling, I find it very self-reflective, which I love to be, and very like therapeutic as well. But what I do find is that people write in their journals and then they just like tuck their journal away and they put it in their bookshelf and they never look at it again. Or maybe they look at it once a year. And in my opinion, there's something called the feedback loop. And the idea with the feedback loop, if I can maybe just draw this really quickly, is that you have an idea. So I'll just put idea of taking an action. And then I'm going to simplify this very much. And then you actually take the action that you were thinking of doing. And then you measure the idea that you were gonna of the action. Was that a good thing or a bad thing? Should I do this again? And then you have the idea of taking the action again. And it's kind of this like repetitive loop that goes over and over again. It's like, oh, I think that I should go, I don't know, walk the dog. And then you go walk the dog. And then when you come back from the walking the dog, you go, okay, did I enjoy walking the dog or not? And it's like, yes, I did. And it's like, okay, well then let me go walk the dog again. So that's essentially what a feedback loop is. It's this like constant cycle. Or you could say, I think I should go walk the dog. And then you go walk the dog. And then you realize, wow, that took an hour and a half of my time when you're measuring walking the dog. And you go, you know what, maybe I could have another idea. Let me hire a dog walker. And that's what I'm going to do instead. So then I have an idea of hiring a dog walker. I go out there, I hire the dog walker, and then I'm working and the dog goes out on a walk. It comes back. And at the end of the day, I write in my journal, wow, my dog loved their life today because they got to go on a 2-hour walk today. And I wasn't disturbed at all. And so that was a great idea, right? So that's what a feedback loop in essence essentially is. And why that's relevant to journaling is because most people look at their journals never. Some people look at it once a year. But I try to look at it on a weekly basis because to me, that's like the closest thing to having my own personal coach or my own personal therapist. And so what I do the beginning of every one of these meetings that I have on my personal operating system is I audit my journal. And I look back in the past 7 days and I actually review, are there any common trends, any common themes? Am I complaining about something? Am I loving something? Are there things that I can kind of adjust or change in my life and build systems around it to make it more enjoyable? So I'll give you a great example. When I was doing this, let's say about 8 months ago or a year ago, I would notice that every single time I went out to like dinner with friends, or I hung out with people that I admired, I respected, I could learn from. Every day, the next day I wrote in my journal, it was like, I was so happy. I was so elated. I was motivated. And I would just see this theme. And you may think it's obvious, but, a lot of people, even the common sense is not common. And so I would see this theme when I would review my journals. And I finally decided, you know what, let me build a system around this. And so now every single Saturday, I have it in my schedule for 2 hours for me to go out to a dinner with friends. And then I give my executive assistant a list of friends that she can pull from, because I don't just want to go out to dinner with anybody. It needs to be people that I admire, I respect, I love to learn from, and then a list of restaurants that we go to. And so every week she reaches out to a few different other couples, and then she schedules the time with them and my girlfriend and I, and all I do is just show up to the dinner and have an amazing time, right? So that's a great example of me auditing my journal and reviewing the things that I need to inside of there. And I'm actually going to show you what my journal looks like here. So this is a template of journal. So first of all, I use an app called Day One. And Day One, I used to write, I don't know if you can see, you probably can't see in the screen here, but I used to write in Moleskine journals. I did that for 6 years. And then someone introduced me to the app called Day One, and you use it on your computer. And with Day One, you can essentially do, it's like writing your Moleskine, but you're writing on your computer. And I like it a lot because you can add photos and videos and images, and then you can export it. And I'm going to show you, talk at the end of this about something I do with ChatGPT, but it allows you to I just think it's a better storage thing. It's better than writing on paper, in my opinion. So this is what my Day One, I just exported of what my daily journal template looks like. So every day I open up Day One first thing in the morning, and I open up a new journal, and then this is exactly what I see. So first thing at the top, it says days left. So personally, I read a great book called 4,000 Weeks, and it's just a reminder that you have about 4,000 weeks to live on this planet. And so, that kind of struck me. I was like, oh my gosh. And so what I do is I calculated the average male lives, I think, to 85 years old, somewhere around there. Then I calculated how old I was, and then I reverse engineered how many days I have left on average on this planet. And maybe some people watch this think it's very morbid that I'm talking about that, but I think it was Steve Jobs that said that, remembering you're going to die is one of the best ways to live, something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing. So I look at it every single day. The first thing I do, how many days do I have left? And I can't even tell you how many times that has changed my life. Recently, I actually purchased a motorcycle, and I'd been wanting to get a motorcycle for a while. My girlfriend got a Vespa, and we were scooting around all of Miami, and I'd been wanting to do a motorcycle, but I just justified all the reasons not to. It's dangerous. It's not safe. It costs money. It's expensive. It's going to distract me, blah, blah, blah. But then I kept on writing, I wanted a motorcycle, and then I just kept on seeing the days tick by and tick by and tick by and tick by. And then one day I raced it, and I was like, oh my God, I only have this many days left. And that day I bought the motorcycle, right? It's just, so for me, it's a nice reminder that we're not going to be around forever. And by putting an actual number to it, it kind of is like, wow. And it also can help you make bigger goals as well, at least for me. Second step I do is I read my life manifesto. So this is a practice that I did where I write out 3 years from now, what does my life look like? So January 1st, 2027, what does my life look like? And then I review it every single morning. So it's kind of like visualization, but I add images to it. I write out a text, how I'm living my life. And actually I have another video where I talk about the 7 lessons I learned this last year. And I read for the first time ever in public my entire life manifesto. It's incredibly uncomfortable, but if you wanted to see what my life manifesto is, you can check that video out. And then I say, how did I live my life by my principles? How do I bring myself closer to my life manifesto? So in my life manifesto, I have about 43 different principles that I live my life by. These are things that I found to be true about the universe, about life. I've read them to my clients only one time before, but these are things that I'm like, okay, I notice this thing over and over again. So for example, I know for me that the quality of my life is determined by the quality of my decisions. The quality of my decisions is determined by my energy when making those decisions, and my energy is determined by what I'm prioritizing and how I sleep. So I really boil down my entire life to how I sleep. So that's why a lot of people, make fun of me because they call me a grandpa because I go to bed at a specific time every single night, and I don't drink, I don't do drugs, and I have all these things about sleeping. But it's because if you actually extrapolated it out, you'd be able to see that your sleep is directly correlated with the direction of your life and who you're going to be in a few years. Anyway, that's an example of a principle that I live my life by. And so this is, how do I live my life by my principles? I'm making sure that I am reviewing my principles. It goes back to that feedback loop. If I just write down how I want to live my life one time and I don't look at it on a daily or a weekly basis, then it's not really going to be that helpful for me, right? So by looking at it here, and also by how did I bring myself closer to my life manifesto, that allows me to make sure that on a daily basis, I'm knowing that I only have so many days left, and then I'm living the life that I've decided that I actually want. A great example of that would be today. I wrote in there that yesterday my girlfriend and I went to go see a Broadway play, which we love to do in Miami, and that was one of the things that I wrote down in my life manifesto, that I'm investing in experiences, and I go on experiences multiple times a week. I'm not just sitting in my office all day. And I wrote that inside of in my journal this morning, that we went to this Broadway play, which we absolutely loved. It was a blast. The next prompt that asked me is, where is my level of engagement and intensity of focus inconsistent with my vision of excellence and the life I desire? Where did I choose to diminish myself rather than enlarge myself? So although that sounds a little bit sexual, what essentially that means is and I put a little prompt here that says, hell on earth would be meeting the man you could have become. Hell on earth would be meeting the man you could have become. So what that means is that, I think it was Ed Milet that first said this, but, he thought in his life, he was like, if he died and he went to heaven and he was talking to God or whoever you believe in, and he looked to his right and there was the man he could have become, he wants to make sure that those two people are the same person. Because the worst thing in the world would be a life squandered, or hell on earth would be meeting the man you could have become. So here's this Ravi over here that is moving towards our life manifesto every single day, and they're giving every single day 100%. And here I am not doing that. I'm just, I don't want to even speak that out, but obviously I'm giving you an example. So this is the way that I do that. And so I could write in there multiple things, like I stayed up too late, whatever. Once I've decided what my life manifesto is, these are the things that where am I not doing this? I'm afraid to have a difficult conversation with a team member. I'm afraid to even look at certain things because I know that it would cause me pain, whatever the reason there. Then it says, what could I be eliminating, automating, or delegating to get back more time? Or where could I add more leverage? What reoccurring tasks could I stop? So this is just for me personally. I'm obsessed with time and time management. And so I always ask myself every day, am I doing things that I shouldn't be doing? And so I just write it down there. So for example, lately I find myself more into our finances in our company. And quite frankly, it doesn't really give me energy to be organizing our finances and looking at P&Ls and all that stuff. And so I really want to hire someone like a controller in our financial department soon, and that's where I read it there. I always list 3 things of gratitude. Almost every single day, one of them is at least being alive, having eyesight, something that's like just basic, having air conditioning. And then journaling. This is the section where I journal. So that's when I just kind of free flow. So this is where I just type my feelings, my experiences, what I'm thinking about, and knowing that on Sunday, I'm going to read that and I'm going to understand a little bit better of the inner workings of Ravi's mind. And then there's something called the human optimization tracker. That's outside of the scope of this video here, but I wear an Oura ring when I sleep. And I actually have been tracking for almost a year now on a daily basis, like so many different quantitative metrics, like my sleep score, my readiness score, and then how is that impacted by my journal? How are those correlated together? But that's like way too advanced. I wouldn't recommend anybody does that. But if you are into data and stuff like that, that's some really fun stuff. So that is auditing my journal, okay? And I do that on a weekly basis every single Sunday. The first thing that I do. The second thing I do in part of this section here, like of the feedback loop, is I reflect on my tasks. So if you go into Asana, you can see that underneath my tasks, there's this completed column. And this completed column lets me see what tasks that I'm doing for my company. And I put personal life in here and business life in here at the same time. So for example, yesterday you saw that I did the Ravi meeting. On last Thursday, we hired a new team member. So I have an automated task to welcome them to the company. We're creating almost a software for our sales coordinator to be able to use whenever we get a booked appointment, to be able to grade that booked appointment. We launched a newsletter called The Scaling Scoop. If you haven't subscribed to it, I'd recommend you do. My executive assistant put my emails down there. I reach out multiple times a month to potential partnerships for the company. I move money around. Like I said, that's me doing the finances stuff. So these are all different tasks that I'm doing. And what I've also done is I've assigned different boards for the majority of the tasks, so I can kind of start seeing when, for example, what was happening a few months ago was I was doing a lot of marketing tasks. Like I was spending all my time in marketing, and so I could easily see that on here because all these tasks had marketing, and that let us know that I needed to hire somebody in marketing so I could remove and get my time back. So I'm auditing my journal. I'm looking at over the past 7 days, what are any kind of common trends, et cetera, and then I'm auditing my tasks as well inside of Asana. Then the next thing I do is audit my priorities. So these are just every week I kind of write down inside this task what are my priorities for the upcoming week. And finally, I audit my calendar. So I'll pull up my calendar for you really quickly. So right now I'm going a little bit over, I'm shooting this video, but you can see this is what my calendar looks like on a day-to-day basis. Almost no white space whatsoever. So sleep, morning routine, I get up at 5:30, then I script, film, and upload YouTube videos. I do my financial review for the company. I have a presentation for our company on adding recurring revenue or how we're adding recurring revenue. I have a presentation for our client success managers so that we can keep them trained up for our clients. I eat breakfast. That's my first breakfast is at 11 a.m. I have a marketing and sales alignment meeting. I have a HubSpot meeting. We're moving over to that. I work out and do the sauna, cold plunge, and shower and lunch. That's from 12 to 2 every single day, no matter what. I have a coaching call, I have a client interview, and then I always, at the end of the day from 4 to 5 p.m., I plan tomorrow. And sometimes there's stuff right here that is like goes on, but also sometimes there's white space because I just want to do whatever the heck I want to do after 5 p.m. But you can notice I stop working at 5 p.m. every single day, right? That's part of my life manifesto is I'm not just working incessantly in the future. Sometimes I'll just pull up my computer and get work done, but a lot of times I like to just keep it on track with the things that I'm doing here. So I know that was extensive, but that's going to take up the majority of this video, but that was how I audit my journal, task priorities, and calendars. Now, I obviously covered like 4 different things inside of that. So how are you auditing it? My recommendation, if you do want to eventually do this, just write down trends that you're noticing. That's all I did in the beginning. Now, eventually I started creating like that Google sheet where I do that human optimization sheet. And then even after that, what I did was I started using ChatGPT. So I would export my journals, I would export my tasks, I would export my calendar, and then I would upload it to ChatGPT and it would give me insights. It would be like my own personal Wendy Rhodes. So it would tell me, hey, actually ChatGPT was the person that told me, or I guess not person, it was the AI robot that told me that there was always a significant correlation with going out to eating with friends and how I would measure my day the next day, my words around my day the next day. That was actually from ChatGPT that told me that. So maybe that's another video. I'll kind of cover that more in depth. But once again, the ChatGPT thing, the human optimization sheet, way too advanced. I wouldn't dive into that right away. I'm just obsessed with systems for our clients, for myself. And so that's why I built it. But at the very, very minimum, if you just spend some time looking back on the last 7 days and look at your journal, look at your tasks, look at your calendar, even those 3 things alone, I think you'll start to see huge improvements in making sure that you're moving forward towards your North Star, which for me is my life manifesto, right? For my North Star of my company is our quarterly goals and our yearly goals. But for me, like just Ravi, Abuvala in general, which that's what this video is about, it's actually my life manifesto. So next is going to be rocks. And rocks are going back to like an operating system in a business. Rocks are like OKRs, they're goals, they're quarterly goals that you have in your business. Once again, I copied all of this from my business life into my personal life. And so I set 1 to 2 rocks every single quarter that brings me closer to my life manifesto. So this is like the big things that if you did that, you would have one step further to life manifesto. So I'll give you an example. Last quarter, one of my rocks was to buy a new plane because in my life manifesto, I have a new plane. And another rock that I have this quarter, I actually wanted to show you guys yet, is this one, which is a clear, specific, measurable health plan, or a clear, specific health plan with measurable progress and positive indicators. Now, if you know anything about OKRs and rocks, this is actually a very poorly written one. I just did my annual meeting yesterday, or last week. So I haven't updated this yet, but the idea behind this is I am really obsessed with like health, and I've removed refined sugar from my life, removed drugs and alcohol. And so what I want to do now is I want to like make sure that, okay, I feel good, I look good, I have low body fat, like exterior and my energy, everything looks great. But what's going on the inside of my body, my gut health, all that kind of other stuff. So I want to work with somebody this quarter to to figure out how do I build a system around measuring that and making sure that I'm going in the right direction. So every single week, I update this rock and I say, here's my progress. You can see I said nothing to update, not currently priority, because I have all entire 90 days to do this and I'm focused on some business stuff right now. Okay. So that's what rocks are. So I review the rocks. And I, just so you guys know, I also have this exact same meeting with my girlfriend, and my girlfriend has her own rocks too. And so we'll have a separate meeting every other week that we go through this stuff and we cover that rock together. Then I have a calendar review. So the calendar review is me reviewing the past or the next 7 days in my calendar. So this one is always looking backwards: the journal, the tasks, the priorities, the calendar, the previous week. And then these are always looking forward. So now I'm looking forward a week and making sure, is my calendar optimized? Is all the white space removed? Am I doing things that I want to be doing? Are there ways that I can move meetings around to optimize my day a little bit more? Then I review my to-dos. So inside of Asana, for us, I have a to-do board, and that's where, like you saw when I was showing you the completed stuff, I have a Ravi to-do board, a marketing to-do board, a client success to-do board, and by reviewing the to-dos, I can make sure that I'm organizing my priorities this upcoming week to reflect the priorities that I set right here. So these reviews could be, like yesterday, I spent a considerable amount of time since we hired someone in marketing recently to help me out, I delegating some of these tasks that I used to have on my to-do board over to his to-do board. And then that just takes about 5 minutes. This takes about 5 minutes. And then I do review and organize notes. Now, this is something that, in my opinion, is worth you watching this video on its own. So like I said previously, I have tried every single organization, thought leader, like time management thing that you could probably think of. And what I always get a question on is like, how do you manage your thoughts and your ideas, and how do you implement them into action, right? Because the way that I see it in this world is this, right? Life is like this over here. If you can see all of these little dots and dashes over here, like this is life coming at you. This is YouTube videos you're watching, books you're reading, your mentors. This is people you talk to in the sauna, in the gym. This is your girlfriend asking for your time, your mom, your cousin, your aunt, your uncle, your boyfriend. That's what's going on over there, okay? And so what most people do in my experience is that they take these things, the exterior world, and they just go straight into, let's just say, action. Okay, so it's just like they get this thing out there and they go straight into action. And they think that because they are quick implementers, that, and maybe because they've been rewarded by being quick implementers in the past, that by being quick implementers now, that they're going to be rewarded as well. But in reality, one of the biggest lessons I've learned going from 7 to 8 figures is that actually it's very likely less action in the sense of like all these exterior things and you're doing all these new things over here. And it's more just doing more of what has worked, right? And very coordinated like actions that you're taking after you have reviewed and identified the priorities, which I'm going to cover here in just a moment. So this is what I see, let me rephrase it. This is how I used to live my life. It was like all these crazy things out here, let's put it into place immediately, which left us with like 70 different projects open at the same time. We're doing a bunch of different stuff, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if you say, I don't have a lot of time, that's usually what it means. So that didn't work for me. But no matter what, no matter how we do, even if you're like a monk living on a mountain, you're always going to have this much exterior influence, or even your mind by itself just running and racing thoughts. So what I have done instead is I built this system, right, where I have all these crazy things out there. And I remember, I'm all about simplicity and systems. So, and the first thing I do is I write it in my notes in my phone. So in the reason why I write it in my notes app is because because I have a policy in my life, in my business and my life, which is that if I can do something in an app or a software that I already have, I will always do that before using another one. So if you're watching this right now and you use ClickUp instead of Asana, use ClickUp, right? Don't jump to Asana. And there's just so much cost in like downloading new apps and trying new things. So for me, I was like, okay, if I can do this inside of a software I already have, then let's do that. And for me, it was Apple Notes, because I have Apple Notes on my phone and I have Apple Notes on all my computers, and they all sync together nicely, and I'm already using it. So when I get all these crazy ideas, which happens to me, when I'm at the gym, when I'm getting a massage, like it's all the time when I don't have, like, it's hard for me to type in my phone, or it would be hard for me to like put in Asana. I just open up my notes and I type 5 or 6 words, right? So it could be like recurring revenue presentation, or it could be something like, a personal optimization video, something like that. So I write it in my notes first. I just kind of throw it in there, and there's a little bit of a filter right here in between the ideas and notes, but I'm at the point now where I kind of know if something's worth pursuing or not. And so I put it inside my notes. Now, what you see, why did I just go on this whole rant about this? Because I have set aside once a week, every single Sunday, and this is that spring cleaning. This is that optimization I was talking about. I have set aside sometime every Sunday to then review my notes, and I essentially decide to do 2 things with it. Either one, I trash it. So this is, I would probably say, in my opinion, based on where I'm at, I would say probably 90% of stuff I just end up trashing, right? It's just like, okay, I had an idea. I wanted to write it down. This is also when I'm sleeping too. I do this as well. Like, I wanted to write it down, and that lets me be like, okay, cool, I have that idea. But then when I'm sitting down and I have focused, concentrated time towards reviewing, is this actually a good idea to implement? I usually just trash 90% of it. And imagine if I didn't have this, instead of trashing 90% of it, I would be implementing all of it, right? So that was a huge jump for me, is having this kind of filter step. And then the second thing that I do is I put it inside of Asana. So for me, if it's not inside of Asana with an assignee and a due date, it might as well not exist, right? A lot of people they'll throw it into Asana somewhere and they won't assign it to anybody. There won't be a due date, and that just goes into the ether and nobody ever sees it again, right? Or they just leave it in their notes and they hope one day they'll see it sometime in the future. So but for me, by the 10% that I'm like, this needs to be action, by putting in Asana, I have to say, who's going to do this and what's the due date that this is due by? And by doing that, I'm actually moving the needle forward on the things that I want to get done. And if you're watching this and you're a CEO, you have team members, you don't need to do all this stuff yourself. So yesterday, I'd say of all the notes that I was organizing and cleaning up, like there was only a handful that I assigned to me. The majority of them I assigned to my different team, right? So I'm like giving them, it's like a way that I can, as a commander, give my soldiers orders or instructions, but I'm not trying to give them 90% of the trash. I'm just giving the 10%. So this kind of like 2-step process right here is, in my opinion, the best and most simplest way to take all this like noise and stuff from the outside, the podcast you're listening to, and then turn it into the actual actionable stuff that you need to do to move the business forward. That takes about 25, 30 minutes, as you can see right here. And then I review and I update my principles. So like I talked about earlier, I try to live my life by a set of principles, and I'm always reviewing my principles. Does this still hold true as it held true previously? And principles are nice for me because it just prevents me from having to learn the same lesson over and over and over and over and over again. So, if I learned 2 years ago, let's just say as an example, that sleep is the most important thing in my life, then I don't need to keep on learning that lesson over and over again like a lot of people do. I'm sitting in the sauna in the gym all the time, and I tell people about my schedule and kind of this stuff here, and they go, oh, I wish I could do that, man. Like I know I shouldn't drink. I know I shouldn't. I should be sleeping better, right? And I'm like, okay, well then why don't you do it, right? But I don't say that because a lot of people don't want to be challenged as far as their beliefs are held. But for me, I create these principles for me, and I'm like, okay, cool. If I know that sleep is the most important thing, then sleep is the most important thing. I don't need to take 5 more years of my life in my 20s or whatever to learn that lesson over again. And so when I am like kind of feeling that like I'm seeing a common theme in my journal, I read something and I'm like, wow, I think that does hold to be true. I write it in my notes, and then when I every week I actually add it to this little task right here, which is to review and update principles. And so principles are like values in a company to me. It's like you should really almost never be changing them. And if you are, you're changing them maybe annually. Okay, if you're changing a principle every week, every 2 weeks, every quarter, in my opinion, you're changing principles way too much. They're not really principles. Okay, so a principle, imagine it's like a a universal law. It's almost like science, okay? Like gravity, if you believe in that kind of stuff. And so for this one, review, update principles, what I was thinking is like, okay, I need a place that I can put these principles that then I can review on my own time and then add them over into my life manifesto if I see them to be true. So I'll just read you a few of these. Maybe you guys will be inspired by them. So I already have about 43 that I read every day, but here are a few that I'm like thinking of adding that I haven't done yet. This is by Naval Ravikant. I read this the other day. Retirement is when you stop sacrificing today for an imaginary tomorrow. When today is complete in and of itself, you retire. So I thought that was beautiful because I know that I'm not going to want to retire as far as the traditional sense of like, let me make all this money and stop working, because quite frankly, I've already made enough money where at least a decent lifestyle, I wouldn't have to work ever again. And so for me, I was like, okay, but I still love to work. But at the same time, I don't want to keep on sacrificing. I did that already, where I was like, I sacrificed relationships and like girlfriends and trips and all, because I was so head down. I'm not saying don't do that, but I'm saying that, okay, I could maybe, if I could bring my life towards my life manifesto, I would have already retired, in the sense that I'm no longer sacrificing today for tomorrow. It's like, today is amazing. I love how I spend every single one of my days. How would I spend my days differently if I didn't care so much about the outcomes? So a lot of people make all their actions based on what they think the outcomes would be, but kind of going back inside of this principle right here, it's like, okay, well, if you're just doing things because you love them, then if you don't care about the outcomes, then how would you live your life? And most of the time, if all you do is what you love, most of the time that thing that you're doing is so good that it helps you get anything that you want out of life. Like, I love scaling businesses. I absolutely love it. It's like my favorite thing to do in the world, and building systems. And because of that, I love it. I study it all the time. I eat, sleep it. I have meetings by myself every Sunday with an agenda, right? And so then that allows me to be incredibly good at it for our clients, okay? And we'll just read one more here. So I was talking to one of my buddies, and he was telling me, he's like, one thing I've learned, because he's had some incredible growth the past year and a half, and I was like, what do you think one of the biggest differences is? And he said, what I've learned is like the vehicle of the business that you're in matters more than anything else. He's like, dude, I hang out with billionaires all the time, and quite frankly, I don't think they're that smart. He's like, I don't think they're smarter than you and I. They're just in a vehicle that is better than the vehicle that we're currently in. And you'll see some stuff coming from me this year that will reflect some of the changes I'm making once I've learned that. But that's the idea of principles to that. And then I review that every single day. And then the next thing I do is I identify, discuss, and solve issues. So identify, discuss, and solve issues. This takes up the majority of the time. This is almost an entire hour that I'm spending on this section here. And what IDS is what it's short for. What it does is you're supposed to kind of throw up all of the issues that are happening in your life right now. So it could be a number of different things. For example, it could be that for my girlfriend and I, it was like that we kept on having all of our couch cushions fly away in the storm, and every single day I was spending time picking up the couch cushions and organizing them. Or it could be something as deep as like marriage. And that was an issue that my girlfriend and I had to discuss, and the plans for marriage and what that future looked like. So it could be on the spectrum. I know I just compared couch cushions to marriage, but that's the idea. It's like you're putting all the issues that you have in your life right here, and this creates an environment to have a conversation with somebody else, or in this example with yourself, to really spend some time thinking about that issue and then solving it once and for all. This is the exact same thing inside of our company. We have IDS sessions inside of our company. I have it with my girlfriend, and then I have it here by myself. And this is really where I'm just spending like scheduled out thinking time to think about the things that I'm doing, the issues that I have in my company, and how I need to change and move it forward. And this is where a lot of the, if I notice a trend inside my, when I'm reflecting for the past week, I'll put it in this identify, discuss, and solve section. And also another thing would be like, for me, I had felt like there were certain types of foods that I would eat and I would like not have great energy. And so I would put inside of the IDS section, bad energy when I eat certain foods. And so then I think, I look at it and I go, okay, how, if I have bad energy when I eat certain foods, that's just because I don't know what foods I should be eating. Well, why don't I know what foods I should be eating? I don't know what foods I should be eating because I've never actually gotten some kind of health or gut measurement that shows me what kind of foods I should be eating or not eating based on my personal body. I just do what other people tell me to do, or what I quote unquote feel good. And so then I was like, okay, well, what if I actually, hired somebody or I got a gut health test that told me what foods I should or shouldn't be eating. And that ended up with me doing that last quarter, figuring out a bunch of stuff that I thought like I had down. And I was like, wow, I still don't know anything about this, which led to the goal this quarter of creating that measurable health system so that, I can live longer. So that's an example of like an identify, discuss, and solve issues inside of here. Another example, let's just use the marriage example, right? Because I know if you're my age or a guy, you have a long-term girlfriend, that's maybe relevant to you as well. My girlfriend would bring it up on an identify, discuss, and solve meeting that we have. We would sit down and then we would talk about it. And the last time that we did it a week ago, it was like intense. You know, she was crying. It was like really, really hard. And we had to have really open conversations with it. And when I first met my girlfriend, it was like, we're going to get married in 6 months. And we've been together 3.5 years and we haven't gotten married yet. And that's not because I don't love her. I don't plan on marrying her. And I don't care what you guys say in the comments. Okay. If you guys want to give me your own opinion, that's your own business. But I've like kind of explained to her what my point of view is on marriage and what I think. And I have a separate video, I think, where I go more in depth on that. But the point of it being like, now we're, instead of just like her wanting this one thing over here, me wanting this one thing over here, and then we never talk about it. And that's the reason why our relationship, explodes eventually. It's like, we bring it to the forefront and we're discussing it consistently. And it's come up in multiple meetings because like, she's like, okay, I want to bring this up and I want to discuss this again. So that's another example of IDS. And let's say another example could be like in business, just to kind of wrap it up here, would be your show up rate is down. Okay. Your show up rate is down. That's an issue that you want to look up that you have in your company. So then your show up rate is down. So then you go, okay, is it because we're not sending enough messages to the prospects before they get on the call? Then you say, no, that's not the case. We're already sending enough messages. So then you go back and you say, oh, well, we have no qualification system. So anybody can come book a time on our calendar, including the most unqualified people possible. There's no friction. They don't have to watch any videos. And so that's what it is. We change that. We remove it. We automatically disqualify the people that aren't qualified. They don't get a book on the calendar, and boom, our show up rate increases, right? So you're creating an environment to kind of do this logical reasoning or thinking around it in order to get to the actual solution. And the idea behind it is that if you come to that solution, you should solve it once and for all, and you should never see it again, right? Now that doesn't happen, but that's the way you should be thinking about systems. And then of course is finally the conclusion here. And in the conclusion, it takes 5 minutes. All I do is I review if there's any action steps from this identify, discuss, and solve section. So is there anything here I need to do? Like, for example, going back to like the couch cushions, what we did was we assigned a task to our house manager to buy couch cushions that had like Velcro on them that could stay on the couch. So then we'll assign them to that person. And then we will conclude the meeting by rating the meeting on a scale of 1 to 10. So 1 being it was the worst meeting you've ever been to, 10 being like, wow, I got a lot of clarity and this was amazing. And so I actually rate meetings by myself and I give myself an honest score of 1 to 10 on the conclusion there. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, a complete walkthrough of my personal operating system. If you guys want to, there's a few other videos on my channel, like the one where I go through the 7 lessons that I learned this last year, where I actually read my life manifesto that you might find helpful. And I have another video as well where I break down our meeting schedule and cadence, how I do this one on the personal operating system side, how I do this on the business side. I actually show you our team leader meeting that we do with our executive team every single week. If you have any questions or comments, or you like this video, please go below this video, hit the like button, and maybe consider smashing subscribe. And if you are a coach, consultant, course creator, agency owner, online service provider, and you like this kind of systems and you want to jam out with us where we can help build systems to scale your business, please go below this video right now and book a time to speak with myself or one of our team members. You guys have an incredible day, and I will see you soon.